Hi everyone, this is Cynthia over at intuitiveandspiritual.com and I wish you happy day. I am heading into July for sacred travel. It's the month of travel for the Life Project and June has been a success. I met all the intentions that I set out to do, the whole gallon a day of water. If you missed last week's post, feel free to go check that out. You can see the experience and the benefits and all the cool things that happen with doing that. Um, but this month is the month of travel, sacred travel coming up. And before I delve into that, I just want to do a quick recap of June since some of you may be catching on for the first time here. So I just want to get folks up to speed as to what's going on. So for the month of June, I definitely met the 10,000 step goal every day except for 6 days. But during those 6 days, I was either outside working on the garden or outside working on our boat or working on mountain biking or something where I was able to do the equivalent in terms of physical exercise. So yeah, so even if I didn't get the 10,000, that I built that into the project where other physical activities okay too. But you can kind of see the garden in the back. I had to just prove it to you just a little bit, but yeah. The rest of the month, still an hour a day of meditating, still doing affirmations and mantras, and I was able to publicize the coloring book, the Tree of Life coloring book. And this month, I will be writing another book, but also working on the Tree of Life journal that I hope to publish either towards the end of July or sometime in August. I give myself permission to take a little time with that because this project has a lot to it. So it sort of just depends on when the processes sort of complete themselves, right? Depending on how much I can work on it as well. So yeah. And June was a really interesting experience. I gave up all alcohol, gave up all caffeine, and just tried to see what life was like, just surviving on mostly water. In the mornings, I might make some chaga tea, and I wrote a post about that if you don't know what that is. But let's see. Then I drank a little bit of grape juice, um, and that was it as far as different liquids. And then the book that I read this month was Conversations with God, which ended up being a really awesome book. It was a really good echo of other personal development books that I've read as well. So the information in it wasn't totally groundbreaking, although I did get so much information out of it and so much um, wisdom and many ideas. So that was awesome as far as that goes. And I may read the second book this month because it is really, really good, and it just changes your perspective on things when you broaden your mind. So yeah, I really liked it. So for July, the things that are going to come up are we're traveling to the Northeast. Then I have a personal retreat coming up. We have some day trips that involve going to sacred places around here in North Carolina. And then I'm going to read. I originally had 108 sacred places in North America slated to read, but I've actually read most of the book in doing research for this project and other projects. And so I feel like, yes, I'm going to be reading that book as we do our travels, but I'm either going to read Conversations with God, book 2, or a couple others that I have in mind. So I'm going to post updates on my blog as to what I finally decide. It's going to involve a library trip tomorrow as well, just in case there's something really good there that really coincides with this month. So as we travel to the Northeast, our first stop is going to be in Pennsylvania at Michaud State Forest. I think that's how you pronounce it. If anyone out there is from Pennsylvania and I pronounced that wrong, please let me know. But we're going to do a quick overnight stay there on our way to Rhode Island, where we're going to stay with Clark from the Wakefield Doctrine and meet his sister Denise from Girly on the Edge. And then we're going to check out the Newport Tower. After checking out Rhode Island, we're going to head to Maine and stay just north of Bahaba, I think that's how you say it appropriately, towards Acadia National Park. We're not actually going to stay in the park. It's just a little beachfront campground just to the north of that. So I'm really excited about that. There are incredible lakes and ponds and trails and mountain biking, and the town of Bar Harbor is supposed to be really amazing as well. I can't wait to see that. So I'm really excited, and we'll probably stay there for about 2 days and then head to the next state of New Hampshire. But before I talk about New Hampshire, I just would like to say that we were going to go to Mount Katahdin in Maine, but it's an 8-hour hike to the summit, and they don't allow dogs in the park. And our wonderful furry friend is going to be coming with us, and so we can't take him to the park. And because it's such a strenuous 4,000-foot elevation gain hike that we have not trained for, we decided that that's going to be something that we do in the future on another trip to the Northeast, right? So, yes, then after that, we're going to go ahead and head over to New Hampshire. There, we will stay in a campground in the White Mountains, and there's supposed to be amazing little gorges and waterfalls and other amazing places. So, we're going to stay there just for a day. There's also Mount Washington that is a 4,000-foot peak. But the road to it will be closed when we're there due to a auto hill climb, I think. And so we won't get to see that, but hopefully we'll get to see Mount Wildcat, or I think they just call it Wildcat Mountain, which is another 4,000-foot peak and a pretty good hike to get there, but not that far and not that huge elevation gain like Mount Katahdin. But anyway, I'm looking forward to it, and it's gonna be awesome. We were also going to try out Mystery Hill, which is America's Stonehenge in New Hampshire, but it's so far south that it's almost in Massachusetts. And so it didn't make sense to be sort of in the north central part of the state, then drive all the way south, and then head back up to the north central part of the state to cross over to Vermont. So we're going to leave that for next time as well. But there's another reason. It's just that this is a sacred journey, and kind of we're wanting to not be in metropolitan areas and not that close to highly populated areas. Nothing wrong with being around the wonderful people. It's just that these kinds of trips lend themselves to more solitary adventures, and so that's part of why we were avoiding the cities, and just wanting to be closer to nature, because nature is one of those things that it just recenters you and it rekindles the spirit. And so that's what we're looking for. When I say we, I mean my husband and I. We are heading on this trip. He gets to come with me. I am dragging him along. I think he's not objecting to that. So after our stay in the White Mountains, we're going to head across the border into Vermont, and we're going to go to Stowe, which has a ski area and some great mountain biking that we know of. And then we're going to go, let's see, behind that is Mount Mansfield, and it's another 4,000-foot peak. And then from there, we're going to go down to Lincoln, Vermont, which has Mount Abraham, which is supposed to be a very sacred place. Centuries ago, Native American Indian folks from the different Confederacy of Nations, I believe, used to meet there. And so it became a space where a lot of people, especially in recent decades, have said that is the place to be. That's a great place for contemplation. And there are supposed to be all kinds of Zen centers and even mystical Christianity folks that, are into that. And I don't know, there's just all kinds of things that are supposed to be going on there. And we won't stay that long, but then we'll head down to our next camp spot, which is it's sort of south of Lincoln, Vermont. And so it's supposed to be near a lake. We've tried to plan this carefully, so we'll see. So then, once we get back home, almost immediately, just a couple days later, I'm headed to Mountain Light Sanctuary. It is here in North Carolina, and the whole place is, every time you think of a sanctuary, you think, sacred place, very calm, very zen. And I went there, I just realized today it was 4 years ago. I thought it was like 2 years ago, but it was almost 4 years ago, and I remember it was just such a special place. I went for a work retreat and just loved it. We only could stay one night though, and so I didn't have a chance to explore as much as I wanted. So I feel like it's going to almost be a new place to me. So I'm going to stay there for 4 days, 3 nights. I'm going to do a lot of meditating, a lot of contemplating, a lot of journaling, writing, drawing, hiking, reading, just all those things that you can do that help to fill your cup, renew your soul, right? So that was another goal this month. So that's something that I'm going to be doing. And you know, when I've explained this to people, a couple of them are like, "Why are you doing that? Why are you going off by yourself? What is the purpose in that?" It's not a common thing in our culture, right, to go off by yourself, traveling by yourself. But there's such amazing benefits to it. You learn a lot about yourself. You learn a lot about what you're capable of. You spend so much time in reflection. You spend time thinking about just all your life decisions that led you to this moment that can teach you so much. And so I am a huge advocate. And I've learned that Jesus used to do that, Buddha did that, the Dalai Lama does it. Spiritual leaders across the centuries have done this. And so I'm kind of like, you know, if they're doing that, then there's probably something to it. And so I'm going to do it as well. And when I get back, there are 3 other places in North Carolina that are worth seeing. Pilot Mountain, Judaculla Rock, yeah, I pronounced that right, Judaculla Rock, and Mount Richland Balsam. So those are 3 different places that are said to be sacred near me. There's a 4th place that I don't know if I'll get to it, but it's called Brown Mountain Lights, and it's about an hour and a half from here, and you have to go at night. This is why I don't know if I'm going to be able to make that, because that's kind of tricky to navigate. But at night, it is said that these lights start blinking in the dark. They're not bugs, they're not stars, they're not comets. Nobody knows what they are. They've actually sent scientists out to study it, and they can't figure out what it is either. And I have personal friends that have seen these, so I want to go see them too. I think there's something special about that. And the Native Americans that used to live in the area had reported that this is a huge phenomenon, and they considered it a sacred place. So I'm excited about that too. A couple more things coming up for this project. I'm going to try to publish the Tree of Life Mindfulness Journal either late July or late August. This trip, these journeys that I'm going to take this month, I'm going to journal extensively over the course of the month and then compile those and hopefully turn them into a book. So I hope to do that. I'm just going to see how it all works out, get a feel for everything. That is an intention to complete. However, even with the best intentions, sometimes you're like, okay, did that really happen? Can I really do this? So I hope it ends up being something that inspires others to do as well. And then lastly, I'll just keep doing the hour-long meditations, the 10,000 steps a day, the affirmations, the mantras. The thing that I've kind of built into this project is that when you're traveling, it's a little hard to meditate. Especially, okay, so when you're camping, there's 2 of you sitting in the car early in the morning when I usually meditate. It's a little awkward, you know, sitting next to somebody. So I may just grab some headphones, do guided meditation, walk around, do an active meditation, something like that, just to try to keep it going. But if I completely miss an activity, it's one of those things where one activity counts as maybe 1/5 of a day. If I miss like 5 total at some point, then that counts as one life day. So I have those life days that I've built in, and I've built in 10 of them just in case of illness or when you're traveling and it's hard to get everything in. So yeah. And let's see, as far as reading, we talked about that. And oh, if you want to follow along this month, I don't want to post on Facebook, partly because I don't want to make anyone feel bad for oh look, I'm going off and doing these things. You know, just seeing others highlight reels sometimes can be discouraging to people, and that's not what I'm about. And so what I'm going to do is I will post on Instagram a lot of the photos that I take during the week or during the trips. And then for, you know, if I get a chance and if I have internet access, I'll upload some videos onto YouTube of these different journeys. So you can get an idea of what's going on, where I'm going, that sort of thing as we go along. So if you want to follow along, you know, just subscribe to the YouTube channel or subscribe to the blog or head over to Instagram. I am C Sageleaf over there. And I hope you have a blessed day. Have a great month. Maybe you're traveling too, so I wish you safe travels. Namaste to you.